Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktavrinda. Oh Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Oh Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare Hare Rama Oh Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Oh Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare Hare Rama Nitai Gaura Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Gaura Hari Bol Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Gaura Hari, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Gaura Hari Bol, Jaya Radha, Madana Mohan Radha, Madana Mohan Radha, Radha, Madana Mohan Radha, Madana Mohan Radha, Jaya Radha, Govinda Radha, Govinda Radha, Jaya Radha, Govinda Radha, Govinda Radha, Jaya Radha, Gopinata Radha, Gopinata Radhe, Jaya Radhe, Jaya Radhe, Jaya Radhe, Jaya Shri Radhe, Jaya Vrishabhanu Nandini Radhe Radhe, Vrishabhanu Nandini Radhe Radhe, Vrishabhanu Nandini Radhe Radhe, Vrishabhanu Nandini Radhe, Oh Radhe, 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 Radhe. Jai Shri Shri Guru Garangagan Havika Giridhari Radha Vinod Vihari Ju Ki Jai Madan Mohan Ju Ki Jai Jai Nityananda Rai Ki Jai Jai Satchinandana Gaur Hari Ki Jai Jai Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Asto Tarasara Shishimad Shila Bhakti Vedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai Jai Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Asto Tarasara Shishimad Shila Bhakti Vedanta Swami Shila Prabhupada Ki Jai Jai Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Asto Tarasara Shishimad Shila Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai Jai Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Asto Tarasara Shishimad Srila Bhakti Pramod Puri Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai Srila Puri Goswami Maharaj Tirabhav Ki Jai Jai Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Asto Tarasara Shishimad Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada Ki Jai Jai Mahabhagavat Srila Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai Jai Saptam Goswami Srila Satchidananda Bhakti Vinod Thakur Ki Jai Arupa Nuga Guru Varga Ki Jai Ananta Kota Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol Om Magina Timirandasya Gyananjala Shalakaya Chakshu Unmilitam Jena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Guruve Gaura Chandraya Radhikaya Tadalaye Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tarabhaktaya Namo Namaha Yam Prabhajantamana Petyam Apetya Dvaipaino Viraha Katara Ajuhava Putre Titam Mayatayo Taravo Binedustam Sarvabhutam Hridim Munamanatoshmi Bhaktya Vihina Aparada Lakshay Shiptascha Karmadi Tarangamadhye Kripa Maitvam Sharanam Prapana Brinde Namaste Charana Ravindam Bhajami Radham Aravinda Netram Smarami Radham Marurashmitasyam Vadami Radham Karuna Baradram Tato Mamanasti Katyana Kapi. I first of all offer millions and millions of Dandavat pranams unto the lotus feet of my beloved Gurudev Nitya Lila Pravishna Om Asto Tarasara Shishimad Srila Bhakti Vedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj. And the same again, millions and millions of times, unto the lotus feet of our beloved Nitya Lila Pravishna Om Asto Tarasara Shishimad Srila Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. And today I'm always also offering my Dandavat pranams to our beloved Nitya Lila Pravishna Om Asto Tarasara Shishimad Srila Bhakti Pramod Puri Goswami Maharaj, and all the assembled Vaishnava and Vaishnavi devotees of the Lord, my Dandavat pranams. Hare Krishna. So today is the disappearance day of Srila Bhakti Pramod Puri Goswami Maharaj, a most revered and exalted personality early disciple of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati. And he worked his whole life without break, showing the example of dedication to Thakurji Seva, as well as this Brihat Mridanga, this Seva of publishing. There's the Dainyaka, the daily Nadia Prakash newspaper that Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati manifested, and Srila Pramod Puri Maharaj, he took over that service as editor. And when he first was given that service by his beloved Gurudev, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, he said, well, really, what do I have to do? What does the service entail? And Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati responded, Krishna will inspire you what is needed. Just like that, that was enough. So his dedication as a Vaishnava is remarkable. When Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati left this world, and many other groups of his disciples formed their own mutts and sanghas, Srila Pramod Puri Maharaj would regularly go to all the different sanghas. He didn't have his own Gopinath Gaudiya Math until really close to the end of his manifest pastimes. But he was dedicated to serving all of the Vaishnavas. I think he will be remembered mostly for his absolute humility, his example of humility. I can remember in 91 or 92, one very beautiful publication manifested from his Sangha. I think it was called The Heart of Krishna. And it was just about the qualities of humility in different devotees with different writings about it. And it was a most wonderful publication, but it reflected his mood to inspire the devotees to, in their relationships with each other, to keep this quality of humility the absolute priority. And he'll remember greatly for that. I'm just saying a few words about him. He wasn't actually, his disappearance day, Tirabhav, wasn't advertised on my calendar, and I only just discovered a few minutes ago that it was his disappearance day today. But so I'm just taking this opportunity to offer some small Pushpanjali in honor of the great influence that he imparted to the Vaishnava community in the most important quality of Trinadapi Sunichena Tarodapi Suhishana Amanina Manadena Kirtanya Sadahari. He was practically the embodiment of this verse. And of course, we know this is the principal quality for a devotee to move forward on this transcendental path. We've been discussing in our 18th chapter, and yesterday we read some purports, how the soul can, when he comes closer to Krishna, there's a certain illumination that takes place in the devotee's life. And this is why it's so important to maintain this absolute quality of humility. Because if we allow that illumination to cover our real fortune, which is service to Krishna, then we can become deflected from the pure, unadulterated goal, which is grounded on this quality of humility. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur talks about it in so many of his songs and so on. Sanatana Goswami gives a very beautiful explanation in one place. No, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he says in one place, humility means having no expectations. No expectations in our various relationships, no expectations of any event to necessarily go in one way or another, but just be completely submissive to the achintya bhav, the inconceivable, astonishing nature of the Supreme manifesting in this world. So this is a very nice description of humility, no expectations of anything particularly manifesting. So I'm offering this very brief Pushpanjali at the lotus feet of our beloved. He left at a very advanced age, remarkable, and I can remember visiting him in Mayapur, and he was, of course, bent over so much, but he was still writing even at that time. I think he left this world at about 102 years old, something like this. And he was still performing his seva, completely bound by his pledge to his beloved spiritual master to perform this writing seva. He was writing for the Gaudiya monthly magazine, as well as the Nadia Prakash. And he was always editing and always writing his whole life and inspiring the devotees in that way, in such a humble mood. So Srila Bhakti Pramod Puri Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai, Gaur Premanandi, Hari Hari Bol. So today we're coming to our 19th chapter, and I feel very fortunate to have gone so much detail in the 18th chapter yesterday when we read those purports and commentaries. They were very clarifying, and it just made the whole subject matter very simple for the devotees to appreciate. It's not an easy subject. It's not a subject that the devotees circles, sanghas, talk about a lot, but it's something that we must be familiar with when we meet those Mayavadi or those followers of Sankaracharya, etc., because they are still numerous in the world. And it's not just the followers, but it's the mentality, the mindset of when that illumination manifests at the stage of ruchi. My Gurudev has described that at the stage of ruchi, there's two ways it manifests. Initially, it'll manifest in the consciousness, and the individual will appreciate that his consciousness has become illuminated by the taste that he's receiving. So if the devotee lingers in that contemplation of his own brilliance, then he's going to lose the connection with the taste for the actual pastimes. So at this point, this is the second type of ruchi, is when we're getting great taste in the pastime. So the first is the illumination of the philosophy, etc., of the understanding of this Krishna precept. Then the second is the real taste for the seva to Radha and Krishna Yugal. So, why was I saying that exactly? I forgot what
ruchi.
Huh?
Ruchi.
Yes, I was saying the ruchi, but I was saying it in context with something else. Oh, yes. So I was feeling that very important point about understanding this 18th chapter, and understanding what is Mayavad. If we get too enamored by our own proficiencies in performing even devotional service and not about the focus of what is the objective of our devotional service, which is only to inspire our very souls towards this Amala Prem Seva of Radha and Krishna Yugal Kishore. So, in other words, if we get too external with our various activities and seva, we can miss the internal aspect of bhajan. Without bhajan, without contemplation, without seriously taking our sadhan with the focus of attaining bhav, then how can our devotional practice really get anywhere significant? It might appear to in the material, external world, but our whole practice is actually to develop the internal qualities of the soul's connection with Krishna in service. You understand? This is actually the principle, is ultimately bhajan. So we'll come back to our Falshruti. And where are we up to with the Falshruti? First try? Okay. Falshruti. Prithiviteyata kata dharma name chale, bhagavata kahe shabe paripurna chale,
As indicated in Srimad Bhagavatam, all the philosophies on the earth that are celebrated as dharma are utterly deceptive.
That means all those external qualities, all those external goals, dharma, artha, karma, moksha. Even we may say that moksha is not an external goal, but it doesn't take us to this Amala Prem Seva, to Radha and Krishna. It just holds us ultimately in the Brahman if we achieve the fruition of that moksha goal. Chala
Chala
dharma
dharma
charikara
chariyam
satya
satya
dharma
dharma
mati
mati
chaturvargya
chaturvagatyaji
tyaji dara
dhara
nitya
jita
prema
prema
gati.
gati. One should completely abandon such deceptive dharmas and observe his mind in true dharma. In other words, one should give up the fourfold goals of material life dharma, artha, kama, moksha and aspire solely for the ultimate destination of Nitya
It's
Prem.
just what I was saying. This is what sadhan bhajan means. Only um, aspiring for this nitya prem, and that involves service to guru. Whatever guru directs us to do, that connection with guru is going to give us the nitya prem, principally. So, having sadguru, he's only going to craft our activities into a ultimate focus on seva to in the uppercut lila, the internal. Amitva
Amitva
mimamsa
mimamsastu
brahme
me
nija
nija
jare
jada
buddhi
buddhi
nirvishesha
nirvishesha
brahma
brahma
gyana
jnanena
hichita
hichita
shuddhi.
shuddhi. Those who are deluded identify themselves with matter. That is their error. However, one cannot be purified of such delusion by endeavors for Nirvishesh Brahma Gyan.
Yes, the whole purpose of this literature, this Jaiva Dharma, is to purify all these misconceptions and guide us clearly, siddhantically, to the ultimate goal of life, the highest achievement for the um, living entity is described. And this is not Nirvishesh Brahm, because that is the alternative. If we don't pick up the path of Shuddha Bhakti, then the alternative is Nirvishesh Brahm. That's where we will end up, going in that direction. Vichitrata
Vichitrahina
hinae
have
hale
Nirvishesha
nirvishesh
hoy,
hoy, kala
Kala
saimatulya
Saimatulya se
se aprakratanai.
Aprakratanai. The Mayavadi thinks Sri Krishna to be subject to the limitations of time, such as birth and death, and considers that he is not
The
transcendental.
Mayavadis are fixed in the conception of time and space, but transcendence exists beyond time and space. So they are making all of their um, assessment on the material aspect of time and space because they're not able to actually access the full the spiritual nature is complete without time, without space, beyond time and space. So the Mayavadi is still sunk in this conception. So how can he be transcendental? He can't. It's going to be explained in the next sentence. Yes.
Thus, he rejects Sri Bhagavan's Vichitrata, astonishing characteristics, paraphernalia, qualities, and Leela.
How tragic to reject this nature of achintya bhav. Bhaktivinoda Thakur talks about it regularly. Unless we've got the wonderment of a child for this path, that astonishing mood, then we get stuck into like a material groove and the mind can't be refreshed. The mind is greatly refreshed when we have some astonishing experience. Bhaktivinoda Thakur actually calls it a wow. And we also can call it a wow when we have an experience connected with our spiritual savor, etc., our bhakti, and we think, wow, we have some realization from reading, from hearing, from chanting. This will give us a great boost, a great inspiration. So that wow is like the connecting with the achintya aspect, the astonishing, inconceivable aspect. So we pray for that, we long for that. Through this,
Khandanyana.
you read that? Through this vicious attempt?
Through this vicious attempt, he is left with the philosophy of Nirvishesh
Yes,
Brahm.
tragic. That's why we go on the street and preach, because practically the whole world is sunk in Mayavad conceptions. They don't know the intricacies of it, but basically they want to enjoy this world, this body, and ultimately, where does that lead? To I am God. That's the ultimate destination of someone who wants to enjoy this world. We can think of all the wealthy people on the planet, etc. What are they actually trying to achieve? You know, the greatest happiness of being the greatest person. You know, even in the entertainment world and so, they all want to be the greatest, the center. This is all Mayavad, all of it. So it's prevalent everywhere. It's in the atmosphere. So the devotee has to be aware clearly of what that is. And what he can only be aware of that through realization of what is the antithesis of that, what is the opposite of that, which is bhajan, which is internal absorption and connection with his soul and his soul's relationship with the Supreme. That's Sambandha Gyan, which we covered in the first 12 chapters. Kande gyane hoye dharma ache sunishchaya, prakriti
Prakrita
da
hale
hoye
kabu
sabu
aprakratanaya.
aprakratanaya.
Such base and contemptible gyan, which arises out of an attempt to dismember the divine form of Bhagavan, is only fit to be rejected. It is prakrita, materialistic, and should never be given credence as aprakrita dharma.
Yes, we should have no confusion of what is spirit and what is matter. It's exactly like I've said many times, the second chapter of Bhagavad Gita, exactly the same. All the way through the second chapter, you're not the body, you're the spirit soul. So why should we spend time cultivating activities of the body? Why should we be feeding this bodily impression with various activities that are going to put me in the front, so to speak? Make it seem as if I am very important in this world. We remember the beautiful anecdote of Srila Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Maharaj. Why do we have a false ego? To shield us from the horror of our absolute insignificance. We are completely insignificant ultimately. So the false ego protects that devastating realization of my insignificance. We spend our whole life, or the conditioned soul spends his whole life trying to build his reputation on the stage of his activities and so on, his karmic activities in the world, you know, in regard to his family, his work, and everything he does is to bring himself up in the light of other people. And yet the devotee's path is completely divorced from that entirely. We're just trying to bring our heads to the lotus feet of Radha and Krishna. That's all we're trying to do. It's a process, it's a cultivation. It doesn't just happen overnight. We need to be very familiar with all the various scriptures, etc., hear from the acharyas continually. Because if we, as soon as we stop and slacken it off for any period of time, immediately that phantom of pratishta will suddenly take over in one form or another. So now we come to Abhideya Tattva. So we've done 3 prameyas of Krishna, Krishna's Mahima, Krishna's greatness as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and then Krishna as Sarva Shakti and Rasabdim. We've done these 3. We've finished 3 prameyas about the Jiva, and now we're starting the 7th prameya about Abhideya Tattva, which is described as sadhan. If we look back on this
Achintya
verse,
Veda Vedate.
Achintya Beta Beta. Yes, we've done that. Oh, I missed that out. Yeah, we've done that. That's 17th, 18th chapter. Yeah. So Amnaya Praha, and then Tattvam Harim Iha Paramam. We did that at the end of the 13th chapter. And then Sarva Shaktim, that was the 14th chapter. Rasabdim was also the 14th chapter. And then Tadvibinam Sams is the 15th chapter, Jiva Tattva, and then Cha Jivan Prakriti Kavalitam, the Jiva covered, swallowed by Maya, that's the 16th chapter. And then Tad Vimuktam's Cha, that's the 17th chapter. We've already covered that deeply. And then Beda Abeda Prakasham, that's what we've just concluded. Sakalam Api Harai, that's what we've just concluded in the Achintya Beda Abeda Tattva. The entire universe consisting of the conscious Chit and unconscious Achit is Sri Hari's Achintya Beda Abeda Prakash. That is to say, it is his manifestation which is inconceivably both different and non-different from him. That's a capsulated form of the 18th chapter. And now we'll appreciate all what that actually means. Now we've come to 9. Shuddha Bhakta. Pure devotional service is the only practice sadhan to attain perfection. So this practice is called Abhideya. And Rupa Goswami Pad is the acharya of this Abhideya. Okay, so we'll begin this 19th chapter.
After taking his meal,
You can say the title, chapter 19.
chapter 19, Prameya Abhideya Tattva. After taking his meal, Brajanath retired to bed with various conflicting views about Achintya Bheda Abheda, the doctrine of inconceivable oneness and difference, arising in his heart. Sometimes he thought that Achintya Bheda Abheda Tattva was just another kind of Mayavad philosophy. But when he reconsidered the teaching seriously, he realized that there was no objection in Shastra to it.
In fact, Shastra supports it entirely.
On the contrary, it contained the essence of all Shastras. Srimad Gaur Kishore is the complete manifestation of Bhagavan himself, and his profound teachings cannot be possibly cannot possibly be faulty in any way. He said to himself, I will never give up the lotus feet of that extremely kind and affectionate Gaura Kishore. But alas, what have I attained so far? I've come to understand that Beda Abeda Tattva is the ultimate truth. But what have I gained through this knowledge? Sri Raghunath Das Babaji has said that Preeti, love, is the sadhya of life for all jivas. Karmis and Gyanis are also searching for love, but they are ignorant about Shuddha Preeti. That is why I must reach the stage of unadulterated love.
In other words, he has to begin cultivating to get realization of this. He's understood something from Gyan now.
Hmm.
Now, what's rising in his heart, he wants realization of this truth to manifest, and the realization will bring it the sweetness of priti, of affection for Radha and Krishna, which is actually ultimately lila. That lila has to come to help us focus on the ultimate reality, the ultimate goal.
That is why I must reach the stage of unadulterated love. But my only concern is how may I achieve it? I'll inquire from Babaji Mahashai about this subject and adopt his principles. Thinking like this, Vrajanath fell asleep.
So this is a wonderful introduction to Abhideya. So in the heart of Rajanath has risen, yes, I've appreciated all these truths. Now I want to realize these truths. What must I do to realize these truths? He's going to be instructed in sadhan. Sadhan bhakti is what the Abhideya is, the process. It's like we have the 12 cantos of Srimad Bhagavatam. The first 9 cantos are Sambandha Gyan, deeply cultivating our relationship with Krishna, this Sambandha Gyan. And then the Prayojan comes in the 10th canto, which is the goal. But then the Abhideya comes in the 11th and 12th. The Abhideya, because first we have to know about the goal. And we've heard about the goal in the first chapter of Jaiva Dharma, especially when Premdas Babaji He's instructing Sannyasi Thakur to silence the monkey cockatoo. He's introducing that apricot spurti, that lila, right in the first chapter. So this is actually our goal. So this is touched upon because without having that goal, why should we do the practice? Without having the goal clarified. Okay.
Since Vrajanath went to sleep quite late, he also awoke late the next morning. The sun had already risen when he rose from his bed, and he had hardly finished his morning ablutions when his maternal uncle Vijay Kumar Bhattacharya Mahashai arrived from Sri Modudrum. Vrajanath was very pleased to see his uncle after so many days. He offered him Dandavat Pranam and respectfully offered him a seat.
So this Brajan Vijay Kumar is going to come with us right to the end of the 40th chapter. So he's a mature devotee already. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur is crafting this presentation in such a way that there are younger devotees going to read this and there are older devotees who are going to read this. So there's nourishment in any stages of our lives. Wherever we are in our life, we can be nourished by the personal characteristics of these personalities who are receiving these because each will receive the instruction differently. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur is well aware of that. The Nyaya scholar Brajanath, he will receive it in one way. The more mature personality Vijay Kumar is going to absorb it in another way. So this is going to be brought out by Bhaktivinoda Thakur.
Vijay Kumar was a great scholar and orator of Srimad Bhagavatam, and he would travel considerable distances to give Bhagavatam discourses. By the mercy of Sri Narayana, he had developed staunch faith in his heart in Sri Gauranga Mahaprabhu. Some days previously, he had the good fortune of obtaining darshan of Sri Vrindavan Das Thakur in a village by the name of
Denur.
Denuda.
So here we can get the time conception. So Vrindavan Das Thakur, he took his birth before Mahaprabhu left this world in 1534. So Vrindavan Das Thakur was the youngest disciple of Nityananda Prabhu. He was about 16 or 17 years old when Nityananda left this world in 1535, a year after Mahaprabhu. Mahaprabhu left in 1534. Nityananda, he left in 1535. I think that's right, or 1536. This 35, I think. So Vrindavan Das Thakur is about 17 years old at that time when Nityananda leaves this world. Nityananda instructed him to write the Chaitanya Bhagavat. So then, if he lived for, say, 80 or 90 years, that brings him up to the, what is it, the 17th century, beginning of the 1600s. So this is the time frame of when this book is set in that time, at the beginning of the 17th century. Mahaprabhu has just left. So it's about the very early 1600s is this is the historic time place for this pastime to be um, uh, the setting for it.
Sri Vrindavan Das Thakur had ordered him to visit the inconceivable Yoga Peeth of Sri Dham, Mayapur, where Sri Sachinandan Gaurahari's Achintya Leela eternally takes place. He also informed him that soon most of the holy places of Sriman Mahaprabhu's pastime would soon disappear and would reappear after 400 years.
I'm confused about that actually because the Yogbit was discovered and manifested by Bhaktivinoda Thakur in about what 18 the late 1800s. But we're talking about a time in the 1600s. So that Yogbit was present. Oh, I understand because Ganga had changed her course in that time between the 1600s and 1800s of Bhaktivinoda Thakur's time. Ganga Devi had wiped out what was previously Navadvip, which was on the Mayapur side. Previously, Navadvip village, city, township was on the Mayapur side. That's where Mahaprabhu took his birth, in Navadvip. And on the other side is Kulyagram. But then with the movement of the Ganga, Navadvip has ended now today being on the other side of the Ganga. But still, the Yogpit, the birthplace, is glorified and celebrated here. So this was the confusion that Bhaktivinoda Thakur had to unravel during his manifest pastimes, because even today you can cross the river and there's another place over there where they proclaim this is the birthplace of Mahaprabhu. I haven't personally been there, but it has a very large murti of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and many people go there. It's somewhat confusing, but the Gaudiyas all accept Bhaktivinoda Thakur's and Jagannath Das Babaji's decision that yes, this here is the real Yog pit, but there is another on the other side of the Ganga. So understand, the setting we just described was about 1600 historically, and he's told to go to the Yog pit. So where is the Yog pit at that time? If it wasn't discovered by Bhaktivinoda Thakur then, so it was submerged by the Ganga. We see sometimes how the Ganga takes off huge slices of pieces of land as it rushes through, especially in the rainy season. Sometimes you see a picture of half a house with half a house hanging over the river, etc. So Ganga is very mighty in her movement around. So this is the reason for the. I was just wondering about that.
He said that the places of Sri Gaura's pastimes were essentially non different from Sri Vrindavan, the holy place of Krishna's Leela, and that only those who can perceive the transcendental nature of Sri Mayapur can truly have darshan of Sri Vrindavan. Hearing these words of Sri Vrindavan Das Thakur, the incarnation of Sri Vyasadev, Vijay Kumar began very eager to take darshan of Sri Dham Mayapur and decided to go there after visiting his sister and nephew in Bilva Pushkarni.
Yes, Navadvip Dham has all the 12 forests here. It has all. It has Jamuna Devi is flowing on the what is it, western bank of the Ganga. We are on the eastern side here, but on the western side, when you go to Navadvip, that's where Jamuna Devi is flowing. On this side, the Saraswati enters the Ganga, but all 12 forests are present here. Bandiravan, Badravan, Belvan, Lohavan, Mahavan, etc. All of them are present in Goradam, whereas they are not present in Puridam. So sometimes people get confused. They think that because Mahaprabhu exhibited such remarkable separation symptoms in Puridam, that Puridam is actually superior to Navadvip. But we know Siddhantically that Navadvip is much more superior to Puridam. It has all the 12 forests, etc. And this is where Mahaprabhu performed his um, the first 24 years of his life here, but he was always merged in a mood of more inclined to like this Sham Ras, this mood of being Krishna. He demonstrated the Baraha Murti to Murari Gupta, and then Sringadev to Srivas Thakur, etc. Many pastimes, um, like Krishna's pastimes, he was performing here in Navadvip, but in Puri he didn't do like that. It's different. So just an appreciation that this is Gupta Vrindavan.
These days, the villages of Bilva Pushkarni and Brahma Pushkarni are somewhat distant from each other, but in those days they were immediately adjacent, and the boundary of Bilva Pushkarni was within a mile of Sridham Mayapur Yogapeeth. The old village of Bilva Pushkarni is abandoned these days and is known as by the names Tota or Taranvas.
So Bhaktivinoda Thakur he says these days. That means in the late 19th century. He as he's writing this. That's what he's referring to. Okay.
When uncle and nephew had exchanged pleasantries, Vijay Kumar said, "Tell grandmother that I am going to take darshan of Sridham Mayapur and that I will be back soon and take my afternoon meal here." "Uncle, why do you want to visit Mayapur?" asked Rajanath. Vijay Kumar was at that time unaware of Rajanath's present condition. He had only heard that Rajanath had given up his study of Nyaya Shastra and was now studying Vedanta Sutra. So, he did not consider it appropriate to describe his devotional sentiments to him. Instead, he did he hid his real motive and said, "I have to meet someone in Mayapur." Brajanath was aware that his uncle was not only a great scholar of Srimad Bhagavatam but also a devotee of Sri Gaura. So he guessed that he must have some spiritual purpose in visiting Shridham Mayapur. "Uncle," he said, "a very faithful and elevated Vaishnava called Srila Raghunath Das Babaji resides in Mayapur. You must have some discussion with him." Encouraged by Vrajanath's words, Vijay Kumar said, "Are you developing faith in the Vaishnavas these days? I heard that you have given up the study of Nyaya Shastra and were studying Vedanta, but now I see that you are entering into the path of bhakti. So hide I need not hide anything from you. The fact is that Sri Vrindavan Das Thakur Mahashai has ordered me to have darshan of Sri Yogapeeth at Sri Mayapur, so I have decided to take bath in the waters of Sri Ganga Devi and then circumambulate and take darshan of Sri Yogapeeth. Then at Shiva's Angan, I shall roll to my heart's content in the dust of the Vaishnava's lotus feet."
How beautiful. When we are familiar with Navadvip and the whole Goramandal, then every time all these different places are mentioned is very inspiring for us because the color, the mood, and the sentiment of Mahaprabhu is immediately evoked. This is why my Gurudev was so much always encouraging us to come to Navadvip, to come to Mayapur for the Gaur Purnima festival and to associate with the Dham. As we associate with Vrindavan Dham, we must also associate with Goradham and get the same connection with the Dham to develop the sentiments of Gora Mahaprabhu. Mahaprabhu is giving us all these instructions from this Jaiva Dharma. They're all the essence of Mahaprabhu's pastime. So part of that absorption is the appreciation for the place where he performed these pastimes and lived. So this is very important for the devotee's bhakti, his growth, is to take any opportunity to stay in this holy dham and let the dust impregnate our consciousnesses deeply for the rest of our lives.
Vrajanath said, "Uncle, please take me along with you. Let's meet with mother and then leave for Mayapur." Deciding thus, they informed Vrajanath's mother and left for Mayapur. First, they took bath in the Ganga and Vijay Kumar exclaimed, "Ha! Today my life has become successful, and at this ghat, Sri Sachinandan Gaurahari bestowed unlimited mercy upon Jhanavi Devi by performing his water pastimes here for 24 years. While bathing in these sacred waters, today I am feeling Paramananda." When Rajanath heard Vijayakumar speak these words in an inspired mood, he spoke with a melted heart. "Uncle, I am also blessed by your mercy."
Very beautiful moods that are being evoked here of sweetness and speciality towards Gaura's Dham. In particular, the Ganga, the Ghat, where Mahaprabhu bathed every day. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, he's commented, why are the people of Bengal pious? And he said, because every day they bathe in the Ganga, the effect of the Ganga, the droplets of water coming from the Ganga onto the land, bathing in the Ganga, being close to the Ganga, remembering the Ganga, seeing the Ganga, crossing the Ganga, all of these have tremendous effect. They create sanskar, sukriti, for the soul. They're transcendental. Ganga Devi is transcendental. It's coming from that transcendental land of Krishna's lotus feet. It's coming from there. So all of this mercy, these jewels are available in this dham for the sadhak to get support from for his bhajan. If he gets support, if he takes the support of these udipans, we can say, inspirational um, uh, objects of this dham, then our connection with Mahaprabhu, our prayer and relationship with Mahaprabhu will 100% increase without a doubt. And this is the goal of our life.
After Ganga Snan, they visited Mahaprabhu's birthplace at the home of Jagannath Mishra. There, by the mercy of Sri Dham, they became completely immersed in a mood of spiritual love,
Deep spiritual love.
in a mood of deep spiritual love, and their bodies became drenched with tears.
So Bhaktivinoda Thakur is showing us the sincerity of these two personalities. These two personalities are not any sort of duplicitous personalities. They're like, they have the qualities to achieve pure devotion. These are the qualities to achieve pure devotion. He's expressing it in the way that they are, their moods, the way that they're relating with each other, etc. It's all very sattvic, it's very beautiful and gentle, their relationship and so on. This is all part of Bhaktivinoda Thakur's gift of this whole conceptions that he wants to actually give us at the same time.
Vijay Kumar said, if one takes birth in this land of Gaura but does not visit this Maha Yogapeeth, one's life is useless. Just see how this holy place seems to materialize to appear as any ordinary piece of land covered by straw huts, but by Gauranga's mercy, see what beauty and opulence is visible to us. Look, how high and splendid are these bejeweled mansions, how inviting are these lovely gardens, how attractive to the eyes are these places of worship. Look here, Sri Gauranga and Vishnupriya are standing inside the house. Oh, what an enchanting form! What an enchanting form!
So he's um, seeing through his devotional eyes the reality of this Dham. He's seeing, yes, Gauranga is here, Vishnu Priya is here. So he's submitting to the potency of the Dham. This is our first connection. Not that we come to the Dham, we try to let go of the past, our past impressions and so on, to leave them behind. Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he writes, forget the past that sleeps, and ne'er the future dream at all, but be with times that are with thee. So if we can remain in a present state of consciousness, just absorbing the speciality of this Dham rather than allowing our various baggages to overpower our consciousnesses and not be able to see properly the Holy Dham, we're depriving ourselves of vision of the beauty, speciality of this place. It's very special.
As he said this, they both fell down and lost consciousness.
How amazing.
Hmm.
I mean, these are exceptional personalities. They're Dham Vasis and they're educated and they're connected with the Mahabhagavat, Srila Raghunath Das Babaji. They're in the Holy Dham and they have a mood to develop their bhajan. This is what they have a mood to do. And simultaneously, they will gift that realization to the people around them, but it's not their main focus at this time. Bhaktivinoda Thakur is not preaching to rush out and save all the conditioned souls as being the priority of life. He's focusing on the priority of life is to develop our Krishna consciousness personally. And with that developed Krishna consciousness, we will automatically affect all the conditioned souls that come in contact with us. So, but this is the focus of Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Bhaktivinoda Thakur didn't initiate mutts. He actually advised Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati not to make mutts. But Saraswati, he decided his heart was so soft, he thought for the benefit of the people, he must make a place where the aspiring Vaishnavas could actually come and take shelter together. He could foresee that in Kali Yuga things were going to be very dangerous. So he wanted to make a place where they could be housed. But at the same time, he also understood the various drawbacks of that, because there are pluses and minuses to that. If we get swept up in the group consciousness too much, we're going to lose our individual focus. We've said this many times before. So this is this is what Bhaktivinoda Thakur realized, and why he actually cautioned Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati about developing mats.
After quite some time, they recovered with the help of some other devotees and entered Shiva's Angan. Tears flowed from their eyes and they rolled on the ground, exclaiming, Ha Shrivas, Ha Advaita, Ha Nityananda, Ha Gadadhara Gauranga. Please give us your mercy, free us from false pride, and give us the shelter of your lotus feet.
Hmm.
All the Vaishnavas there became very joyful when they saw such emotions in the two Brahmins. They began to dance, chanting loudly, Mahaprabhu
Mayapur.
Mayapur, Mayapur Chandra ki jai, Ajita Gauranga ki jai, Sri Nityananda Prabhu ki jai. Vrajanath immediately offered his body at the lotus feet of his worshipable spiritual master, Sri Raghunath Das Babaji Maharaj. The elderly Babaji picked him up and embraced him, asking, Baba, what brings you here at this time today? And who is this respectable Mahajan with you? Vrajanath humbly told him everything, and the Vaishnavas seated them with utmost respect. Vijay Kumar then inquired submissively.
All these are really powerful teachings about Vaishnava behavior. The devotees, the Vaishnavas, are so happy to see the sentiments of these two elevated brahmanas, and their exchanges are very sweet and pure. So this is an insight into pure Vaishnava behavior.
Vijay Kumar then inquired submissively from Srimad Raghunath Das Babaji Maharaj, Prabhu, by what means can the ultimate aim, Prayojan, for all jivas be achieved?
In other words, the Abhidheya. This is an introduction to our chapter, basically. What is the Abhidheya?
Please be merciful and tell us how we can attain that Prayojan.
Okay, we'll stop there. It's a good place to stop. So the stage has been set, and the Vaishnava Goradam atmosphere has really been manifested by the divine words of Bhaktivinoda Thakur, and everything is prepared for our absorption into the abhidaya, the practice. Because without the practice, then how can anything substantially be achieved? So this abhidaya is paramount to appreciate and understand. So tomorrow is Baladev Purnima. So I'll say something, some Pushpanjali to Baladev, just a brief offering, because I'm assuming that everyone will have heard different offerings. So much offering will be coming over the internet on about Baladev Prabhu. So I'm not going to speak at length about Baladev Prabhu. And we'll come back to our chapter, because this Abhidheya is also, like we can say, on the back of Balaram Prabhu. Balaram Prabhu is a Kanda Guru Mula Tattva. So everything about Abhidheya is resting on the Guru principle, how to go forward, etc. So we'll come back to our chapter tomorrow after we say some words about Baladev Prabhu initially. Okay, and Srila Bhakti Pramod Puri Goswami Maharaj, we should remember today and ask for his mercy to manifest. We've said many times that if we have a chance to offer any type of Pushpanjali or any prayer to that personality who has just his Tirabhav or Avirbhav, then mercy will more easily descend today because the window is open, so to speak, to collect their mercy. So Srila Bhakti Pramod Puri Goswami Maharaj ki jai, Jaiva Dharma ki jai, Bhakti Vinod Thakur ki jai, Ananta Kota Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai, Gaur Premanande, Vanchakalpatarubhyascha, Kripa Sindhaveva cha, Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnave Namo Namaha.